We are live, everybody. Welcome to EMPP, Ed Madison Podcast Project. With me today, I have a very, very special guest. His name is Mike Behrensmeyer, a returning, actually, from the first episode.
Yeah, the very first one.
I'm done talking like a jackass now. So,
Are you?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What's going on, bud?
Not much. Thanks for hanging out. So,
Not a problem.
I want to start by saying really quick. Mike decided to be graceful enough to fill in. I already can't talk. He was graceful enough to fill in. I actually had a cancellation on my scheduled interviewer for this month. Won't use any names, but he's going to reschedule for me for a future month. And Mike was nice enough to come over, do another podcast here in back of the house. I'm not on the road this time, which is really nice for work. And we're basically just going to recap and catch up probably, I'd imagine, on the last one.
Well, yep. I'm trying to think of right now what we left off on the last time.
I don't even remember what we left off on.
Well, I know I said I was taking a social media break, which still that's been good. So that's a positive thing.
That's good. So just to kind of recap from that, you were done with basically what again back then in January?
Back then. Just the oversaturation of everything. Like, it's all there. You know, it's right at your damn fingertips. It's worse than a drug. We'll just put it that way. Every time that bell rings, that notification, you know, that kind of messes you up psychologically a little bit because it's like it releases endorphins, you know, like that likes a high for somebody. If you look at it like a psychological point of view.
Yeah. What was that law called again? We were kind of talking about.
It was Pavlov's law, which is classical conditioning. So in his experiment, he basically taught a dog to salivate on the command of a bell. So he'd introduce food, ring the bell, the dog would eat. Over time, you don't have to associate the food no more. You can associate the ring with the bell. And he also went it further as classical conditioning kids too, and would do, I think one of them was a rat. And then they would have a big loud noise, so a big bang. It'd scare the kid. Well, that kid would automatically become terrified at the sight that he saw that rat. Without that noise, it didn't matter. He would have been classically trained to associate fear, not only just in the sound, but just seeing a rat and then knowing that over time, you know, every time he hears a big bang, he's going to see a rat, or every time he sees a rat, he's going to be in fear because of the big bang, you know.
It's funny how that works too. You know, if we think about things that kind of happened, whether we realize it or not, I think muscle memory, especially, and you could relate to this as a musician too.
Right.
You know, it's not audible, but it's definitely a situation where you feel like maybe it could be audible because you know that chorus comes around. So you're like, your fingers are just instantly programmed to jump to that next fret or that next drum, if you're a drummer, or tom, or whatever.
It would be whatever the next musical connection would be, honestly.
The next note that you're going to sing, you know what I'm saying? So,
well, because muscle memory is, all right, you played guitar for how many years?
Probably since I was like 16 or 17, and now I'm 23, so not that long.
Not that long, right? You're just starting out. Yep, you're just a baby in this.
It's just a baby.
No, but yeah, like your muscle memory, like you can sit there and play, but you know what chord you're playing by the feel. You can still hear that note in your head, though.
I can.
You know what an E minor sounds like, or you know what an E note sounds like. You know, and you can associate that with you don't have to have the audible, just like, can you pick up when somebody's playing an E minor in music or that type of thing? Because you play more covers than I do.
Yeah.
So you play a lot of by ear. Not saying that you don't, you know, you actually.
No, I can, yeah.
But you can hear by ear and be like, oh yeah, I can pick this up, you know, a few tries.
So I can learn by ear for sure. The thing is, I'm not that great though, where it's easy for me to pick out solos that easily without listening to it over and over and over again.
Well, in solos, you got your melodies, your scales, you know, what your modes, whatever, you know, you have more things that are kind of basing in through that, whereas a chord progression is totally different. Because I would not be able to pick a solo out no matter what. But there's since I'm self-taught in music, but I'm not, because I was actually playing guitar, playing bass, self-taught. But I learned how to read music. I learned how to play the cornet, the string bass. I learned how to read music. But to associate the two things, it's like apples to oranges. I mean, really, like classical music to take contemporary rock or whatever. Completely different styles where you can look at tabs. You're going to get it. You're going to figure it out one way or another.
Right. Yep.
But, if you sit down and you go through a big orchestra type thing, you're playing one part of a section, which was harder to learn compared to, where I don't, I'm not particularly a cover person that sits down and plays. I've more learned in my chords, a little bit of scale stuff, and then just never progressed from there. I just kind of picked up to playing original music and going off of what I knew, and then learning things from other people as we went around.
Influence from other people that you enjoy, even though you're not covering their music.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, you got that. But even working with other musicians and stuff, too, you learn quite a bit when you're trying to put a band together, or, you get a flow, a mesh. There's sometimes you get a guitarist in there and they can't really mesh with you style-wise. It's not to knock them on their guitar style or anything, but if you do not mesh personality-wise and have an openness to music, then you're really not going to work. Like if you're single-minded, one track, you might as well be the band leader instead of being a guitar, at that point.
Absolutely, manager. That you were talking earlier about tabs and things like that. So let's say I'm picking out a new song that I'm going to cover. It's either something I'm doing in my solo acoustic thing, or even if it's in like my full electric bands that I play in. A lot of the times, it's the easiest way for me to learn isn't even starting to try to listen to it and pick it out, just because the time I have restrains that. Instead, what I found that's very useful is using YouTube live videos. So
yeah.
So for instance, if I was picking out how to play a song and I'm like, well, let's just see how they play it live. And that's my easiest way of saying, okay, if they're playing,
how simplified is it to where I can pick it up quick?
Exactly. Or even if I try to dig deeper to make sure I'm playing it just like them, it's hard sometimes if you listen to an album and you're trying to say like, okay, well, I get that that's going to be like a G bar chord instead of an open G. You can hear that sometimes, but it's interesting to see how they play it live, and then I try to mimic that so it best represents how they want it done too.
Right. Well, I don't know. You know how I view covers, because I'm doing a cover band right now too myself. We're in the starting process, and it's like we're simplifying it down. We're making it fun and enjoyable for people because they want to hear that stuff, but I don't think it has to be spot on to the T. Most of it, don't be like, rewriting the solos or anything like that. But I think playing it as close as you can, because I know there's songs where I just physically cannot play that bass line because of the issue that I have with my hand.
Right.
And,
yep.
And that touches back on the other podcasts and stuff, but
right.
I still try to play as much as I can, but there's bass lines that I'm never going to be able to play just because I don't have that movement at this point in time. Not saying that I ever can't get it back or progress further than where I am, but for this point, I'm just simplifying it to where I can play things.
There's nothing wrong with that,
and there's not.
Here's the deal with me though, and for those that know me, I'm very sometimes OCD to the point where I, in my head, have to have it done a certain way.
Yep.
And then I beat myself up over it if I can't get it 100% correctly. And that's the way I am. And I'll be honest.
Well, I'm that way in my photography and stuff.
Oh,
I know exactly.
And it shows too. And that's the thing. It shows. But for me is that I sometimes, especially with the solo acoustic thing I've been doing recently, it's been something where I've been able to just kind of take some shortcuts and just to make it sound enjoyable. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't know if I've ever explained it to you, like with the photography thing, is I beat myself up over, soft focus pictures and things like that. Things that, you really can't control because there's some like technical thing in photography where you got some lenses that have a focus breathing type thing. I'm not going to try to go into explain any of that type of stuff unless... I
think it's interesting.
It's very interesting, but I would start something else besides that because I could go on for days if I really wanted to for that type of stuff. But, there's technicalities and then there's just actually going out and doing it and getting it done. I think people just put too much pressure on themselves and are more afraid of failure than anything. When, I'd much rather fail a whole bunch of times and have success at one point in time than to never have ever tried anything, stayed in a comfort zone, or, we don't step out as a human there's that few that do, and then they achieve something that they want to in life, whether it be, being famous or just something personal goal that they're always going to work on. It can be anything and everything, but most of us don't. I'm guilty of it too. I get to my moods where I don't think I'm that great or whatever, and it's like I used to never be like that. Sure. I had the mentality that I was a badass when I played in a metal band, and I was that big teddy bear, but I had to take that personification that I was a badass and egotistical, this and that, and it's like, well, that was just one mask you had to wear in life, but you kind of have to wear that when you're up on stage.
The thing is too, is that I don't know if we even talked about this in our first podcast together, but I know that in us, we have talked about when you were in those bands and you were traveling and you were putting so much pressure on yourself because of everything, that was going on around with the band. And
I mean,
God, that would be, I put a lot of stress on myself doing the little things that I do.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, though, being that band that goes and travels, a cover band makes way more money.
Because I'm a music whore. I just want to be clear on that. So that's why I do the cover band
that's
thing.
All right. I'm a music whore too, but I love to be the original music whore, because that's way better.
Two different sides of the coin here. In a good way, though.
No, it's a good thing, because I came to the other side when I realized that not going to say that I won't ever play original music, because you know what? I always have that ability to do it. And I live in an age where, yes, we'll get past the social media thing because it is an addictive drug. But we have the capabilities to promote, to show, to cross around that. If any one person, 2 people, 3 people, they show their friends, there's 10 more people, whatever. You have that ability through the internet. And, whatever we just had to go through in the beginning of time, back in January when all this stuff was starting and the net neutrality was coming around and things like that, want to take, whatever, if you want to post this, we can charge you more money, whatever,
That shit ain't gonna fly.
Well, no, that shit ain't gonna fly because the shit's free. Well, and it's not really free because we all have to pay for it, but
we do.
Why should I have to pay somebody else, a provider, when I already pay that through my telephone network or your cable network or whoever it is? Because there's, not to name drop any of them, but there's so many of them around that offer so many different things. Well, we're out here in the middle of nowhere, You're on one side of Interstate 80. I'm on the other side of Interstate 80. There's things that I can't get where I'm at that you can get here.
Right.
As far as service providers, I'm way out. I got to deal with little local small things. And it's like, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Completely.
So I would have to pay more money, for them to come out and cross over when, it's just like, I'm paying you money.
Right. Why can't it just be done and over with?
Exactly.
And,
why should I have to deal with one single price when you guys have all these companies, but then I have no jurisdiction, like I'm out of the jurisdiction for them to be able to come out and do that stuff. It's like, that's kind of weird.
It's kind of messed up.
A little bit. Or I got to pay a private satellite internet company, and then you pay by the megabytes, and it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Megabytes? I haven't heard
right?
that being referenced
I don't think
until like 10 years ago.
Right? I don't think you pay by the megabytes, but that's the way I look at it, because it's like having dial-up modem all over again.
I know.
512 kilobyte, I think that's what we used to rock back in the 90s.
That's all you need. I don't know. I don't even know why we have what we have today.
Let's get the beeper, the all the sound noise,
Could you imagine how much to upload even one podcast video to YouTube, how much that takes just to do that? That's not megabytes. That's got to be at least a gig, right? You think? Or you think it wouldn't take that much for data to get that uploaded?
It'd take a long time, man. Did you ever have to search porn when you were a kid? Man, you had to wait for the bars.
Should we talk about that right now?
Well, we probably shouldn't, but you had to wait for the bars to break apart,
Well, yeah, of course. And, back then, so in that day and age, we're going to go there just because he brought it up. So back in the day, it's not like you had porn, you were watching like videos as much as
No,
it
you were
was,
just looking at pictures.
because it took forever just to get that picture, probably, like
Yep.
you were referring to. Can you imagine how long it'd take to stream a video back then? You
Oh,
couldn't.
No, there was no way you could do that.
Not that I know about streaming videos online in that kind of format. I mean, I heard somebody told me
it would have
there's-
been. It probably would have been like 220p or whatever, if anything, if you would have been able to broadcast it.
it's like potato quality,
So you would have had a bunch of blocks and
Right.
not images.
right?
It would have just been a mush. It would have been like scrambled. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would have had a better chance hacking your cable box than you would trying to get that off the internet.
Exactly. Yeah, I just remember back then it was. I heard from a friend that it was pictures more than streaming and downloading videos, just because of how fast things were. But if we didn't talk about this too, and maybe I talked to somebody else in a podcast about it, but just thinking about how the difference in, and I'm pulling my phone out, not that I can, that we're gonna look at it right now. I'm not going to look at messages, but the computing power in something like this is incredible today. That if I think back to when I was growing up, we had a Packard Bell. It was a desktop computer, and that computer, the tower that laid down on its side.
Yeah, the monitor sitting up on top, the big old box monitor.
Yeah, the big old boxy monitor, right? So back then, can you think about what you were doing on a computer in that era?
That would have been all right. So our first computer would probably have been a Windows 95 Hewlett Packard.
Oh yeah.
And what would I have been doing back in 95? I would have been playing Doom.
Besides porn.
Doom,
yeah.
Doom. I didn't have I didn't get internet until I think 99. So like I was in high school by the time I got internet.
And that makes sense. I lived out in the country.
Same here.
So we didn't really have any fast internet available, or when we did, it was really, you couldn't do much with it.
Yeah.
So, but I did the same thing. So Doom Trilogy back then, 3.5 millimeter discs.
Yep.
I think they were
floppies.
floppies.
Not old school floppies that were the 5x5 paper thin plastic sleeve with a little disc in there and a metal center. That I do not know how that was ever. We're gonna put media on that.
You know what
keep it.
You know what you play on those types of things? Fucking Oregon Trail.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Or old school computer games at school that have the math. Because I don't know if you ever grew up with that, but you had to do the math test that had like the race cars, and you had to put the right answer in so your car would proceed and whatnot.
Yeah.
I could never do those because they're all timed. It's like I was not that kid that could learn in a timed form. So yeah, I was a special need kid. I grew up being dyslexic, so my computing and comprehending took 3 times longer than most people did. And
But they accommodated for it though. Pretty well.
Eventually, it was kind of a struggle but I had to go through testing. I had to go, just make sure that I wasn't faking type thing. And then, I went out. I'm not gonna bash the high school that I went to or anything like that, but the trouble that I had to go to get everything that I needed to be able to learn, like I was mainstream basically, and that's kind of what they did. And we won't get into what the education system is today with the No Child Left Behind, because I was in college first going to be in a special in elementary, and then that no Child Left Behind came in, and it's like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that on the teacher side. Not that I wouldn't say that I'd ever not be a teacher.
Sure.
But I'm just not going to conform to. I don't think core academics are the most necessity for kids these days. We don't have well-rounded children that take music or art or even have physical education anymore. They've taken a lot of those programs away. And I don't know, since 2017 election, everything's kind of been messed up going on. We got different person that runs our school system type thing in the government, and their views are different than everybody else. And I don't,
Well, there's a lot of changes, regardless of the administration. Some are good, some are bad. Right?
No, and I'm not gonna sit here and bash it or sit. It is what it is. They're gonna do what they want to do. They're gonna change things. I'm not in school no more. It does not affect me anymore.
Sure.
But
my kids though are in school,
exactly,
which I care about.
It affects you more, because especially when you have to raise your kids and the age that your kids are they're in school. You have to learn how to do, anything about Common Core math?
Oh, so a funny story about that, if I didn't tell you this before, is that at one point the kids brought home some math homework. I think it was Tommy, my youngest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I can help you with that. This is simple. And I went through it with them, and it was right. I shown him, and didn't even think about, that it was Common Core now. So he ends up getting like a bad grade on it. I'm like,
Because he didn't show how he got the answer.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Now, I remember when we were in school.
Yeah.
And we got belittled with freaking story problems. Johnny had 5 apples. Susie had 8 apples, but Susie gave Johnny 6 apples. So how many apples did Johnny have? Those type of things. Like, I don't even know if they do that stuff. They got to do like half a page for one problem, like algebraic or calculus, or like. Okay, I thought what we had was pretty complex when we had to show our work, because we had to do long division.
Oh yeah,
long division. And then I
remember.
got to high school and it was short division. Well, why did I learn that?
Right.
But then you're going to change it on me, and then coming to find out that a lot of the algebra terms that we use, that they if A plus B equals C, then what's A and B? Why didn't they teach it? Why did they separate and keep it taught to where, basically most people use basic math. That's it. Unless you go into a field where they're doing that type of thing. But, you look at figuring your interest rate and your principal, what is the equation? I over P or whatever equal, your interest, when you're trying to figure your interest rate out on a credit card or whatever, or cashback type thing.
Yeah.
There's an equation that you can figure out that, but they saved it till algebra. And if you never took algebra, then you wouldn't know anything about that type of stuff unless you really paid attention in math.
Right.
And I feel that they didn't do a lot of things in the education system for us, like finance wise. Like, did you learn how to balance a checkbook?
I don't remember. No, I do not remember that.
I didn't even learn how to file my taxes.
I still can't balance a checkbook, Mike.
Neither can I. But here's the thing. Like, these are simple things that we'd have to do as adults.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I remember taking home ec, learning how to cook, how to sew.
Well,
we didn't have shop, though.
I was just going to say, because I had shop.
Okay, so if we wanted to have like a shop, we had to take agriculture.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in farming community.
I did too. Yeah.
So,
ag
was one of the big things that we would have to take. So I'd have to learn how to farm and all that type of stuff. Well, I wasn't a farmer. I didn't grow up on, so that didn't pertain to me. So I took home ec. Like, I had the choice of what I wanted to take, which honestly I think everybody should.
Let's be real too. The ladies were in that class.
Well, of course, if I needed help sewing a little puppy dog up, I could just go bat the puppy eyes and, get any lady to do what they needed.
Before we go any further, while Mike's taking his drink,
hold on. I'm not going to leave on that note. Nope, we're not leaving on that note right now. That's not how I view anything. Do not worry, ladies.
I know. We're just having fun here. So I want to be clear, and that's why I was going to take a break while you were drinking. So we're not drinking water or coffee. I mean, it's espresso, but there's actually a little bit of scotch in here. If you remember from every other podcast, we have some scotch.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to. In this situation, we added a little scotch to some espresso.
We're having some Irish coffee.
And the reason
that's what we're going with.
Well, the reason why is because we're mature adults, and it's a weeknight. It's not a weekend.
It's a weeknight. Yes.
We have to be.
This is called adulting.
This is called adulting. This is exactly what it is.
This is the wind down time for adulting.
Exactly. So we're going to be hopped up more on caffeine at this point than we will on the actual scotch, probably.
I think it's going to affect us both. You're going to be jittery and slurring.
Well, one thing I didn't mention, of course, is that we sampled a few scotches before we...
Yeah, I think we probably had a cumulative of maybe 2 shots and a shot in our coffee.
A double or a few fingers worth, I'd say.
Yeah.
3 or maybe a couple, 3 fingers.
Well, whenever this dang weather decides to stay nice, we can actually start getting out and having cigars with our scotch, too.
We will, in fact. So the thing is that for anybody who isn't living in the Midwest or Iowa, it's we had in my travels yesterday, there was a winter storm warning in my
Yeah.
travels. A
Yeah.
winter storm warning. And by the way, the first day of spring was March 20th, and it is April.
Tomorrow will be April 20th. We all know what that is. Go check out the Green Moon, guys.
Yes, what he said, I'm totally cool with that. But yes, it's been a month almost since spring started, and we have winter storm warnings.
We've had
Aside from 420
snow.
tomorrow.
Have we had? Is it only twice that we've had snow since first day of spring?
I feel like we've had it more than that.
We've had a lot of rain, a lot of ice.
I'm going to tell you this. So when I got back from Vegas at a work trip that I recently had, and I got back on the 7th this month,
Yeah.
it snowed that Sunday.
Yep.
So flew in Saturday, snowed on Sunday. And then I felt like midweek after that, snowed again.
Yeah,
And
it did. No, we've had 3 times where it snowed, since it's been spring.
This is depressing.
It's very depressing.
If there's
man.
any reason you need to drink Irish coffee,
Yeah, it's like because there is no sunshine. Never.
it's awful.
It is.
It's terrible. So this is the Midwest, though, and everybody that's watching this from the Midwest understands that we have to take these risks. But the risk, though, I think brings us a reward of, I like living in this area.
I do too.
I do too. There's something about it. It's really easy going. And also, I don't have to fight traffic nonstop every day. And the cost of living isn't through the freaking roof.
No, and I've noticed that in Davenport. I haven't lived in Davenport ever. I had a brother that lived in Davenport for a little bit. And even then, it was expensive back in the day. But like when you're paying $900 a month just for an apartment, when you could go buy a house, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to run up because some people just don't. I had a hard time even being able to qualify.
Sure.
My situation with what I'm getting ready to go into with moving, I'm renting that for my dad. And it's to help him out. Well, going through everything and help him out, but it helps me out at the same time. It's beneficial in the long run, but sometimes, yeah, it is cheaper to get a house than it is to pay.
It is. It
rent.
absolutely is.
I mean, it can go both ways, though. I mean, if you look at it, if you're getting an apartment for $900 a month, you better have all those utilities included on top of that, because I mean, even having a house payment that's say $600 a month, you still have out here where you got to pay utilities.
And utilities aren't, I mean, they're not overly crazy expensive here,
No.
but they're definitely not cheap, though. And
No,
at least
they're
in
not.
my house, they're not.
They're not cheap. I mean, it all depends on what you have. You got kids, so yeah, I'm sure the TVs get left on a little extra.
They never use those PlayStations.
They never use them. Never.
Never,
Mhm.
no.
Well, maybe they're out of that generation now, because all I know is every kid is like looped into that damn thing.
Guess what they're doing right now in the other room? Probably playing Fortnite, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
It's probably what they're doing.
Hey, I play PUBG, but I'm not addicted to the stuff though.
That's good.
Like, I can walk away from video. I wasn't a video game kid when I was growing up. I had an older brother, so I was the annoying little brother that was like die when he's playing Mario, hoping that he'd fall in just so I could be Luigi.
Heck yeah. Nothing's wrong with the Luigi, by the way.
No, there's nothing wrong with Luigi. Well, they could have probably did a better job at the movie, when they were going to make a video game movie.
Oh, yeah. But I think more importantly, I don't know if you remember seeing this growing up, too, is that they actually had a Super Mario Brothers cartoon
Yeah.
that I used to watch back in the day.
Yep. They actually had 2 people that played a live version of them on the cartoons.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
I do not remember that.
Oh, that was way before then, because there was a later time when they had like the Super Mario 3. That's probably the one you remember.
That probably is the one.
Okay, so they had an original one that 2 live characters actually played, but they had like shorts in between their type of thing. So like, I remember one episode, and we could probably pull it up on Google if we looked it up, but
probably
they had
could,
a Sergeant Slaughter come out from WWF. I'm going there. That's how old we are, was when wrestling was cool. Because now I don't know what's going on with that stuff. We're not talking about
I really
it.
don't either, yeah.
But yeah, back in the day, I watched the WWF when it was cool, and the WCW, and when they had all those variations and whatnot. I remember Jake the Snake, man. But yeah, no, Mario Brothers cartoon. I'd have to call my brother to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, we could definitely take a peek here.
Yep, we're gonna have to Google it. When you get in that big screen.
Oh yeah, I gotta move that in from the living room when I'm ready to upgrade my living room TV. That is going to be one of the next things, though. We'll get it up on the TV on the wall.
There we go.
Yeah, and so I'll put this up on the video that's on YouTube for those that probably are getting disappointed by the silence if you're just listening to audio. We're basically checking out. This is the one. This is the one I remember.
Yes. Okay.
So
the Super
that
Mario
is.
show.
We're on the same page.
Yep,
That's
yep.
the one I'm thinking of.
Yep. So they had them before the cartoon actually started, or in between the cartoons. They had them dancing around and whatnot and doing little skits and stuff. But yeah,
that's the one I'm thinking of. Yep, that's the one I'm thinking of. And it had the a mix of the different worlds from Mario.
I think they started pulling into the third one on that one, but I do remember there being a different Mario cartoon too.
Anyway, craziness. We'll have to look that up more later. But yeah, so
that's childhood right there.
I remember that. Yeah, for sure. If there's big impacts on me for when it came to movies and cartoons growing up, for me, let me ask you, I'm going to have you think of your top 5, but I'm going to try to come up with my top 5. So for cartoons, Super Mario Brothers we were just talking about, it would be Thundercats for me as well. Another cartoon, not a cartoon. How about, you remember Fraggle Rock?
Yes, I do.
Fraggle Rock was big for me. And then I loved a couple of movies growing up when I was in that age, right? Back then. It was definitely Batman, the 89 Batman with...
Michael Keaton.
Yep, with Michael Keaton. And then if I had to give another pick of something that was influential, The Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending Story.
Yep.
Yes. There's some very, very interesting things about that. That was a very messed up movie as a kid.
You know what's the most fucked up movie and not to cut in front of you? The scene where the horse died.
Yeah.
Got sucked into the swamp.
Oh yeah.
What was the horse's name too? Somebody's probably screaming it or yelling it.
Oh no, there's definitely somebody yelling it at us right now.
The poor freaking horse got stuck in the mud in the swamp and got sucked down in. That was the worst moment ever.
Oh.
But thankfully Falcor was there to kind of offset the sadness, right?
Yeah. Was his name Sebastian? Who was Sebastian?
I don't know.
We're horrible at this. We're going to talk about it on podcast. Everybody's yelling at us right now. They're like, you guys, you got Google this day. This is horrible. Watch it be some Mandela effect stuff.
So, Artax. And Atreyu was the dude, right? The boy? No. Yeah, no.
I thought his name was Sebastian.
I don't fucking know. That's something.
I've watched this movie tons of times as a kid, but I cannot tell you the last time that I ever watched this movie.
Horse and Kid. How about that? It was Atreyu. That was the kid's name. Atreyu's horse, Artax. Yep. And you know what?
Or was the actor's real name Sebastian? Maybe.
Get ready for this to be the Swamp of Sadness. It's going to be
Swamp of Sadness.
A little teary-eyed.
Are we doing this? All right.
Please don't take this video down YouTube if we were putting this in there. Be like copyright protection or something.
Come on, Artax.
I almost feel bad going the full length of this because it's basically just silence. But can you see it from over there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Come on, boy.
Shit's about to get real sad in here. Especially leading up to this moment. I remember, it was a struggle to get to this point for him.
I understand.
If I remember correctly, right? And then basically he loses his horse.
Yeah.
It's too difficult for me.
Pretty sad stuff.
Oh,
Poor
yeah.
kid. You know, I can't remember. I feel like I've had the boys watch this with me. I should have them watch it again with me.
You're letting the sadness of the swamps get to you.
Man,
You have to
that's
try.
tearjerker right there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I feel like at this point in the movie, it's later on to where he's like struggling to get through and one thing after another, you know? And
Yeah, he's going through a lot of trials and tribulations.
exactly. Kind of like life for us. You know what would really help him through that moment? That's fucking nice, Scott. You know exactly where I was going with that.
I do not promote underage drinking.
No, because now he's old enough, right?
Yeah, he would be.
So there's the Swamp of Sadness.
The Swamp of Sadness. All right, so where were we going? My top 5?
Yeah, what's your top 5? Think
All
about
right.
when you were growing up. What's your top
Okay.
5?
So, cartoon-wise, growing up, I'd have to say Thundar the Barbarian.
Okay.
You remember Thundar the
Oh, yeah.
Barbarian?
Yep.
All right. So, I think that was like Hanna-Barbera.
Oh,
era
yeah.
Cartoon kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, you had Thundar, He-Man. I was a big He-Man fan. What other cartoons? I don't know. Do you remember the Food Fighters?
I do not remember that.
Okay, so I remember them being, they're like food items. And they'd fight one another. They had battles. Like, I remember the toys and everything. And I don't know if you can Google that and see what the hell.
Food Fighters?
Yeah, the Food Fighters. But they used to be like, there was cheese pizza and there was cheeseburger. Like, it was crazy.
What's that new? What's that new? What's that new cartoon that's on Adult Swim with the Meatwad and?
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
That's right.
Yeah. I really don't watch much TV anymore. YouTube, if anything.
Food Fighters. Holy crap! Look at this.
Oh yeah.
Look how pissed that.
Yep.
Look how pissed that cookie looks. Is that a cookie or is that a hamburger?
No, that looks like a cookie.
Is that a cookie?
Yep. There's a chocolate chip cookie behind him. There's a hot dog. There's some fries.
That hot dog is pissed.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So this was one of my favorite cartoon, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The cartoon, because I didn't. Yeah, I watched the movies as a kid, but I don't really remember them as well. But I remember the cartoon. And then I'd have to say, for my top movies, Ghostbusters for one.
Yep.
Gotta love the Ghostbusters.
1 or 2, the best.
One.
The one. Okay. Yep.
2's all right, and then whatever they decided they're gonna update, I haven't even watched the new one.
With the chicks?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it either. No offense. I'm not trying to come across as sexist or anything.
No, it's not the Ghostbusters I remember, but it's also not the writers of Ghostbusters.
Well, it's also no Dan Aykroyd, right?
Mhm.
Dan Aykroyd and
Ramus.
yep, who passed away.
Yeah,
Rest in peace. A few years back, right?
Between him, Bill
Murray, yep.
and why am I drawing a blank on his name? You just said it. Dan Aykroyd.
Yep.
Between those guys, I think it was Ramus that was the writer of it.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, it does sound
well,
right.
he did the National Lampoons and all that stuff too. I mean, he was that creative soul of that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, so Ghostbusters was a big one of mine. E.T.
Oh yeah.
So
E.T. Yep.
And that's really, as far as like Steven Spielberg movies, that's all I really care for. Like Jaws, I didn't really care for as a kid. Poltergeist was good. It was good, but then that remake ruined it for me.
I don't know if I ever watched the remake.
I've seen it like once, but I don't think I finished it all the way through.
Did you catch the new It remake recently?
Yeah, I actually went and saw that back in September.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I
I saw that one too.
I didn't care for it as much. I think the scare factor on it was completely different. Like, I remember the scare factor for me as a kid watching Tim Curry do it, and I was terrified. Like, I hate clowns. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to roll up in a ball, fetal position.
Right, but it's
terrified of clowns. But
makes you a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm very uncomfortable around clowns. They're just too damn happy.
I brought up Poltergeist too. If you think about Poltergeist in that movie, the clown that drug her brother under the bed.
Well, and when I think of that scene, I think of Scary Movie 2. Ray Ray's got Uncle Ray Ray's got a game to play. So yeah, that brings that up. I mean, there's so many different correlations for those movies, but I don't know. I think the 80s scary movies in the early 90s were way better than what today's are.
Yeah.
The scare tactics were a lot better. The jump factor, where nowadays it's like gore factor. You know, how much blood can you get into the scene, or
What would you agree with this, especially since you're getting into videos and stuff too? Is back then it's not like they had a bunch of special effects they could work with, or not
they
as much. I mean, they did. They had special effects, like Poltergeist, obviously, and things like that.
There was special effects, but there was more creativity behind the special effects, I would say. Not that I'm a professional in any type of that thing, but I think as far as now with the CGI animation and all that stuff, you can do a lot more. You can do a lot more with green screens.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not saying that they didn't use that stuff, because, I mean, that's just been upcoming stuff. I mean, look at George Lucas in the films for when he did the original films for Star Wars and all that type of stuff.
Oh, awesome job back then.
Like that land speeder that they had, that scene. We all thought that was floating, but really all they did is take some Vaseline and put it on the bottom of the lens so you couldn't see the wheels. It was just a blur. That's camera trick is all it is.
Sure.
You figured out how to do those type of things, like the old school zombie movies, when they were ripping out
Night of the Living
intestines
Dead and stuff like that.
Well, Night of the Living Dead, that's where, like, one of my favorite, that's why I love horror movie genre, is because of the Night of the Living Dead, the whole zombie thing. I mean, you can tell by my tattoo, I played in a zombie band. That's what our main reference was. We did so many things with Night of the Living Dead, the night Eleanor rose from the grave. We had all these variations of different things that were zombie genre movies that we'd sit down for weekends and just watch horror movies. Nothing but B-rated zombie movies back from like the 1940s up to the most recent horrible.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it B-rated independent movies, but somebody took the time to create a movie.
So let me ask you this: I think we can agree on older zombie movies being which ones are good. But let me ask you, what's a newer one that you thought, even if it isn't a zombie, it's a twist or a new take on zombies, like 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later,
So,
or The Hills, not The Hills Have Eyes, because that's more like a mutated incest thing.
There is a new zombie movie. I don't know if it's out. I've seen previews for it, and it would have to be the best representation of what the zombie apocalypse would look like today with social media being like that. Somebody created, and I have not seen this movie. I've only seen previews of it, but from what I've seen, what it looks like is they're infected through the phone. And there's like this tone or something that just started to drive these people crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I've seen it on YouTube, but I've never, I have not seen the movie yet.
When did that come out?
I'm not sure if it's even out yet or not. I think it might be called The Call or something.
But that sounds very familiar with that.
Right. But that's the new twist on the zombie genre thing, is that it became a technology virus more than anything, and then it just started affecting the human brain because, if you look into those type of things like the microwaves and all that type of stuff, like our Wi-Fi routers and all that stuff put off a transmission of waves.
Can you imagine right now if this room was infecting us, we'd be in a shitload of trouble because
we'd all be in trouble.
Got 3 cameras.
We'd all be in trouble just because of that one right there.
Yeah, 3 cameras, 2 smartphones. I don't even know. The computer, the router in the corner. Those amplifiers, you could turn those on. I don't know what they're doing, but...
Well, I know back in the day, I used to have the old Fender Squier.
Yeah.
And the old... what amp would it have been? It was just a 25-watt Fender amp, whatever.
Practice amp?
Practice amp, straight out. Usually when you bought a guitar, you got an amp with it. They'd throw a deal on for, $100 more. You get this little 25-watt amp or whatever. You had clean channel distortion if you wanted it, a little bit of gain. So me and my brother found a place in my parents' house that you could actually hook the guitar, set it up on top of the amp, and it would actually work as a radio transmitter. You could pick up you could pick up Spanish channels, you could pick up Japanese channels. Like, it was so weird, but it'd be like random times that you could only do that because you couldn't do it all the time. And then you'd be like, oh, well, here, try to tell your friends about it, but only another guitarist would ever know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's any guitar, and I don't know what it is, why it can pick up frequencies like that, but that's just to tell you, there's lo-fi things out there that, are running. I shouldn't say run under the radar or anything like that, but you know, you can put a low frequency that somebody might be able to pick up. You know, look at like ham radios and all that type of stuff. You know, that's not hi-fi or anything. That's lo-fi. That's common basic technology.
So I had that happen to me when I was younger. When I first started playing guitar, I had this was a borrowed keyboard amplifier. It was a PV borrowed keyboard amplifier from my my mom's ex-husband. And if he's watching, shout out to Bob. How you doing? But actually, he played guitar, and he was part of the reason that I kept getting more and more interested. Because when I go visit my mom, like during summer or whatever, because they lived a decent amount away. So I go hang out with them for the summer, and he always had like, you know, stuffed guitars, and you know, he would play acoustics, and he had this PV keyboard amp, and it was a single 15, massive, right? So as tall almost as my Aguilar,
it looked like a bass amp, not
bass
a
cabinet over there, but it had one big old speaker in it. It was for keyboards, and I plugged in, you know, like a Digitech multi-effects, just cheap old thing into it, and ran my Squier, you know, Strat, probably into that. And
I think what was my first guitar? It was a Squier Showmaster.
Showmaster.
Yeah.
Whoa, sorry to get excited, but I haven't heard that for a while.
I know, right? Well, hell, I should have held on to that goddamn thing, because when I ended up getting rid of it, they're like, "Oh, we'll give you 100." They don't even make Showmasters no more.
Showmasters are badass, and I'm not trying to cut in front of them.
No, they were top line Squiers.
They were, and you would never think top the line, but
mine was cool because I had a reverse headstock on it.
They did.
So, and I had the
what color?
HSH with the metallic black.
And so the thing is, if I remember correctly, those Showmasters, they were all that color. There was no like contrasting pick guards or anything. It was a stealthy looking.
Yep, stealthy. You could get it in matte black, or you could get it in a metallic black, and the metallic had a fleck in it. And
nice.
That was my first guitar, and I held on to that for so long, and I think I was 29. And
that's when you got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not that I got rid of it. I traded it in towards another instrument, but that was my first guitar that I ever had given to me. After that, I'd always bought my own instruments.
That's cool.
You know? But the thing is, at least I traded in for, I traded in towards the bass that I play today, actually.
That's good.
So, I've been holding on to that one for a while. But
Showmaster, though,
baller. I know. And like when the price that they gave it to me when I traded it, I was like, really? You only gave me like $100 for at that time, I think it was almost a $500 guitar.
And that was a lot for a Squier back
then.
Well,
yeah, because I was top end Squier, and I think now since they don't make that brand anymore, I think their highest is like $399. This was when Squier was still putting out things that Fender should have been dropping down, which same company, just
right.
It's a sister, but no, so. Yeah, I mean, Showmasters were pretty nice guitars. I had the Floyd Rose tremolo in there too.
Oh my God, that was
with locking tuners. So it was a nice guitar for what it was.
So how I really knew the most about that guitar is back in the day when I first started playing, when I was 17, 16, 18, whatever it was. I feel like it was 17 or 16. I used to, when I went to either it was Muskie Music in Muscatine, or if it was like
they used to have a Griggs in Muscatine though, didn't they?
That was after.
Afterwards, okay.
That was after, but so I would used to go in back then, and I just pick up all the catalogs. I would be that kid, right? They go in and be like, oh, I'm gonna take the Fender one, the Gibson one,
see what products they have out. Yep,
and
I was that type of kid.
Just
too.
read them at home, right?
Yep.
And I remember seeing that Showmaster, and I was like, man, that looks awesome, because they probably had some artist that was playing it in the picture in the catalog that was one that I enjoyed.
Yep.
Like, I gotta have that.
Well, they had a couple different variations of it too. They had like the single pickup ones, and then they had a SSH, which would have been a single humbucker, and then I had the top one, which was the humbucker, single humbucker with the Floyd Rose tremolo in it. So that jacked the price up on it a little bit.
That's okay though, baller.
But
I mean,
it was
seriously,
it was a baller guitar. I mean,
dude, if I would have, I've been like,
But thinking about it, when I was looking at guitars, what I actually wanted was a Jaguar. With silver sparkle, it was horrible. Like, it would have been a horrible body guitar, because the sparkly silver and shit, like. It looked more like a girl's guitar than a dude's guitar.
No, that's cool. So I got to ask, because if I remember correctly, Kurt Cobain played a Jaguar for a while, and also
He played a Mustang, a Jaguar,
Mustang too. Yep.
and then they came out with a Jagstain. That was
Jagstain,
his.
yeah.
That was his design. And I think 2016 they did a re-release
I
of
remember
it,
that. Yeah.
but they did not release any in the aqua seafoam or the seafoam green.
Okay.
They released it in a red.
Okay.
And now, kind of what I've been looking at is, I've been looking at a Mustang fender bass.
Oh, cool.
It's a short scale neck.
Is that? So there's a short scale Fender artist model from a guy, Justin. I'm gonna butcher his name. If you haven't seen this yet, look it up. Justin Mendel or something like that.
Yeah. I'll have to
So he just recently came out with this signature Fender short scale bass, and he's played for all kinds of people: pop, rock,
yeah.
Nine Inch Nails.
He's a studio.
Nine Inch Nails too.
Yep.
He toured with them when
Yeah.
I saw Nine Inch Nails one of the last times. He was the bass player at the time. But check that out too.
Yeah.
And before I forget, I got to talk about this because we were talking about throwback guitars. And so when I was learning to play guitar, one of my favorite bands, and still is today, is the Deftones.
Oh yes.
So I love
That's John Carpenter, right?
Steph Carpenter.
Steph
Carpenter. Yep. And actually, I had a chance to meet him. The poster up here, the signed one,
Mm-hmm.
when I saw him the very first time I saw him, and I've seen him a couple of times, but that time I had a chance to see him backstage. It was one of those deals where you can go shake their hand. And
Yeah, kind of like a VIP session, a little bit.
Exactly. And Steph is one of those guys where every day is a 420 for him.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing him after the show. It's just like, he's all fried and we're shaking hands one at a time, me and my friend. And we went through and I remember pulling him close because I'm just that kind of guy. I'm like, man, thanks for all the inspiration. Because he was to me.
Oh, yeah. No,
You know,
yeah.
for that simple kind of, that rock kind of.
Well, I don't know. Did I ever show you that
You
one?
did not show me
Yeah.
that. Show that. I don't know if the camera can get that or not.
Probably not. Probably not.
We'll get
But,
a still
yeah,
picture of that later.
We'll get a shout out for that one.
But the nice thing is with him though, when I saw him and just saw how real he was, because he was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's doing his thing. He still does it today. And I so badly wanted an LTD or ESP is the main company. They had a signature model of his back then. An SC20.
Was it a Telecaster?
No. So
Was
the
not-
newer ones, he recently came out with a newer Telecaster body, 7 and 8 string
Yep,
stuff going
yep.
on. But this was back when it was a Horizon body, which is a double cut, like a Super Strat, right? And
Yeah,
I
I remember-
always wanted that guitar
Yeah.
because, he was like my idol.
Right.
Could never afford it. They just re-released it
Did they?
this year. They released it
Nice.
at NAMM earlier this
Yeah.
year. And I'm like right on the edge. I don't need another guitar, but I really want one because it's so they're making an LTD version so it's more affordable.
Right. Yep.
But I'll show you, and I'll put a link in the description of the video too. But I'm going to show you this. I'm thinking about just pulling the trigger just for the nostalgia.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to buy some toys.
But I've been so good. So
right. I've been so good.
I have. I don't think I bought a guitar, and we may have talked about this last time you were on.
Well-
I don't think I bought a guitar in. Oh wait, the bass.
Yeah.
Wait, was that last year?
yeah,
That was last year.
That was last year. So
That was last year.
It's been about a year since you bought an instrument.
Probably a little bit less than a year since I bought an instrument. No, maybe it's been about a year because when I got that 5-string Ernie Ball Music Man, I
Yeah.
was still living in
Muscatine. Yep.
Muscatine. Gosh, has it been that long almost now?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on another guitar that I don't need, just to maybe play some Deftones covers hanging around here, and older Deftones covers where it was 6 strings instead of
The 7 or
because
8.
they currently do not make a 6-string model of his because he hasn't played one, in a long time.
I thought they did though. Well, they don't have
don't.
any in production.
No,
if
but
anything, but
they don't. But they've been making
Well-
7 and 8s for years now because since
Yeah, because since he's been playing under them
I feel like
as a signature artist, they probably have not made anything besides 7 and 8 string.
Saturday Night Wrist, which I think can you see it well behind me here on the wall? Is that the album cover? Yeah, Saturday Night Wrist. So he went to 7 strings after White Pony,
Yep.
and then he just kept going 7 and then 8,
Yep.
like Diamond Eyes, and But anyway, so I'm thinking about getting that. I don't know for sure if I will, but I'm like super tempted. I don't need it, but I want it.
Hey, I don't need a Sony A7 III, but I'm gonna jump the gun on it as soon as I got some money to afford it.
Is that a camera?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm just curious. Is that? I mean, I can look it up later, but how much is that?
That's just right under $2,000 right now.
Yeah, but it's a nice.
It's a nice camera. Like I plan on updating my Sony because right now I'm shooting on a A6000, which not a bad little camera for what it is. But I picked up what do I want to say? Last August, I started shooting on Sony A7, the original one that they brought out as their full frame.
And I'm not familiar, but I'll look it up though. I can post links too in the video.
Yep, if anybody wants to check it out. But anyways, I started shooting on it, and it just was not like the A6000. The A6000 is like the more affordable consumer. If you don't want to buy a point and shoot, regular Joe can go down the street and snap a picture. You know, it's not the fancy pro models.
Sure.
But I'm gonna step back up because they finally updated some things on as far as like their autofocus system. They've come out with quite a different various of. They brought out a flagship called the A9, which was like top of the line, and then they started bringing out the what's the last crop sensor they brought out was the 6500. Now those shoot 4K. Well, they had the A7 II or A7 Mark II S or whatever. They've come out with quite a different flagships, and now they're like to their newest one. Well, this is the most affordable 4K capability. What I've been shooting on basically has better auto function. Where I went to the pro models and the autofocus and all that was horrible. Where I had better luck shooting the crop sensors, and that's why I never, updated it. But now we're getting to that day and age where more 4K is going on. You got 6K cameras that are shooting down to 4K. It's just to kind of future-proof myself as far as, but
yeah,
even with my photography and stuff, I'm just now starting to get back. I actually have a shoot this Sunday coming up for a horror shoot that I'm doing, which was supposed to be done, well, let's say Easter weekend or before Easter weekend, because we had snow that weekend before Easter. Yeah, that got canceled because there was snow.
Thanks, snow.
Yeah. Fuck you, snow.
Right.
So I got that shoot coming up Sunday, and then I'm actually setting up a couple other shoots and then trying to get some shoots for myself on the modeling side again.
That's cool.
Coming up here. So, and then, I don't know, trying to get some video stuff done. The last podcast, I know I said quite a bit about things about what I was going to do, and I haven't really done anything of that. But
I want you to know, if you ever shooting vids, right, videos, and you're looking for that, horror, if you're looking for somebody that's like the slow fat guy in the horror films that gets picked off first, I could totally do that.
I know. We said this the last time we were on here.
I'm okay sacrificing myself for your art.
That's all right. We'll sacrifice you in a good way. Human sacrifice, the way to go. But no, so yeah, I'm picking back up with the photography stuff again. The weather's getting nicer. I think my next shoot that I'm doing for myself is I'm going to do a levitation shoot, which it's going to be pretty cool. The way I can explain it is I'm going to stand up on the ladder and snap a picture of myself being up on top of this ladder, but I'm going to take a picture of the background, and then I'm going to blend the two together so that the ladder disappears.
Nice.
And then it looks like I'm floating in midair type thing.
That'd be pretty cool.
But I want to do it so it looks more like a graceful type of fall. So I haven't really decided how I'm going to do it as far as if I'm going to set it on a timer and just kind of jump up and let my, not really fall, but kind of get that natural fall look, instead of being kind of rigid where you would be up like standing on a ladder or that type of thing.
Right. Yep.
And then
what you need to do, just have a couple of drinks before you get up there.
Oh,
loosen your ride up.
The bail factor, I know I've talked about that many a times. Don't ever tell that to a hospital nurse.
No.
They don't like hearing about the bail factor.
No.
Because they'll be like, no, you're just drunk. Yeah, I was, but you know what happens when you're drunk? You're loosey-goosey.
Yep, exactly. That's all right. It helps the art. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no. But so if that goes to plan, I got a shoot that I plan on doing with another model out of the Quad City model group, that photographer model group that I've been doing for the last
the one you mentioned before, I think, right?
Yep. Well, and even at that point, it had already been a year. I haven't been around that since last July, I think.
It's been a while.
It's really been a while. I haven't done much for shooting, and if I did do anything for shooting, I haven't posted much. I mean, just that one video that you just saw of my buddy.
Well, and I haven't got to it yet, but
Yeah.
and if you want me to link that in the video for everybody to see too,
Yep, you can.
I can definitely do that for you. Always want to share what my friends are up to, and make sure to promote them too, especially since I appreciate Mike coming over and hanging out. One thing too I want to talk about before we end this for today is and you have something else you want to add?
Where are you going here?
Your possible podcast, right?
That's what I was just getting ready to talk about myself. So
take it away.
Well, no, go ahead. Is that what you're just going to bring up?
I was basically going to say, so we've kind of talked about a little bit.
Yep.
You doing your own thing. It's about music. It's getting together, not just talking music, a little bit of a jam session possibly, playing music.
It's music in general. I think kind of the topic that I want to go is we are all independent musicians. There's different reasons why we play music, and basically what I want to do is like you as a person that plays covers, there's songs that obviously speak to you that more than else. Just like I'm not a cover person, but there's songs that I have written, or I shouldn't call them songs because sometimes they don't even have words, but music that kind of speaks to me. I'm not, the singer-songwriter type of person. I've tried. I still try to this day. I'm more of a poet and an instrumentalist. Like I can't really put the
like
two
a
together.
Writer.
Yeah, well,
you're just like a writer only. You're the guy that writes the lyrics and the music, and somebody performs it.
Because actually, you'd have to sit down and you'd have to. I don't know. Music's weird, right? Like trying to write lyrics to music. You have to sit down and you have to constantly, like, I can't, like, if I'm gonna sit down and try to write lyrics for a song, I gotta record my idea and then listen on to a repetitive loop. But then I get to a point where I put into it to where I can't play and sing at the same time because I can't concentrate on that type of thing.
It's tough. I know, dude.
It's very tough. Like the only song that I know that I can actually play and sing at the same time and do it all the way through would be "About a Girl" by Nirvana.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And it's a very good one. That was probably one of my first songs that I ever learned, trying to learn how to play guitar.
E to G, right?
E to G, yep. And
E
then,
minor to G or E to G.
Yep, it's E minor to G, and then
I can hear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not even gonna get into it because I might have to break it out.
Why not? I mean, we could do that, or we could save it for your podcast too.
We'll save it for the podcast one. But so, anyways, going back to the music idea, what I want to do is I basically want to feature one musician a month, and it doesn't matter if you play drums, if you play guitar, if you play piano, if you're just a singer, whatever you want to showcase that makes, as far as a performance-wise, because I want to get a live performance, whether I got studios that I can go run out in the Quad Cities to where we can have like a warehouse kind of look or that type of thing. I got friends we can do that with, which, that would actually kind of increase the value. But if I can get people that are more acoustic to come outside and we just go out to the backwoods somewhere.
Yeah, pick a spot, right?
Just pick a spot, whatever. Come to a small town, middle park, whatever. We could do here in the Durant Park. Wildcat's Den, yes, exactly. No. I mean, any place that I could get it to where we don't have to have like a live band type situation. Because then you're looking at some problems, blowing the shit out of fucking sound. I mean, if I have to rent a studio, I know where we can do it, and then we can have the interview, whatever else. But I want to do performance, and then I also want to do an interview, and then talk to people about their music and why they're involved in it, or what keeps bringing them back, or what anything that has to do with them and their musical taste choices, why they play music, how it makes them feel, any of that type of thing.
I think it's a great idea. I think it sounds like a lot of fun.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, I'd like to make it a various of artists. I don't want to just say it's all guitarist player or all acoustic players or any of that. I'd like to bring bands in from the local area.
That'd be pretty
cool. Whether they be a live band, a live original band, whether they be playing covers, because there's so much talent around here that we don't get the showcase.
Right.
And like, we're all self-promoters when it comes to our music stuff. There's nobody that's saying, hey, here's playing this weekend, you got to do that, sell your stuff, that stuff yourself.
Sure.
But we don't have radio being like, oh, Glen Allen's playing here, or
Sure.
the Love Dogs are playing over there. Not to name drop bands, but those are the local bands in the area, you know.
I was gonna say,
and you got some Blackout, you got some Motorboat going on.
Well, and I got a solo gig this Saturday. If anybody wants to come out too.
Yes, go check him out. He's awesome.
In Atalissa. Not like I'm trying to promote while we're on air here.
Hey, why not? It's
Why
free
not?
Publicity.
Yeah.
It's the internet. We can do whatever we want.
Right. Fuck Google. Anyway. And YouTube. But that'd be
Right.
fun though. I'd love to help out with that in any way you know that I could.
Like I said, I'd definitely like to get you on as a first guest. I got some friends that I've talked to try to arrange some other stuff too. I know when I had said I'd talk to you about hosting it with me, but I think just doing it, well, I'll probably end up having you co-host with me type of thing, but we can do more internet stuff.
Sure.
I mean, with your work schedule and shit, I don't know how mine's going to be. I've just kind of been flying by the flow of the universe at this point.
That's cool. Yeah.
For about 2 years now, we'll just put it that way. I haven't given two shits. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I think it's definitely something that sounds like fun to do, and I'd be honored to be a part of it in some way, shape, or form if you'd have me. And even if I was performing or being that co-host on the first episode, it'd be a lot of fun.
I just think getting together and having like mind talk about the same thing. You know, everybody can kind of bounce off whatever, and who knows what you can make out of it. I mean, there could be a collaboration down the road where there could be a giant jam band that we could just get together once a month and be like, hey,
it's networking.
Yep, exactly. Well, networking, and then also getting to know other people out there, because I think there's too much animosity between everybody.
There is, and I've seen that before.
I'm going into that cover situation where, I've heard a lot of the same songs over and over and over and over again, where it's like, okay, it's time to change it up.
I know.
Some people get into that routine.
I'm trying to do that with my solo acoustic thing, but the truth of the matter is, in the other electric bands that I'm in with Blackout and Motorboat, it seems like it's just easier sometimes to just. You don't have to require a lot of practice, which is lazy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It sometimes life gets busy, and
but we're also musicians though. At the same time,
what are you trying to say?
Oh, I'm just saying you should probably try to be able to pick up anything that you can at one point in time.
Let's face it, we all know some lazy musicians out there too.
Yes, we do.
I'm even on occasion one as well.
Hey, I've had my fair share of being lazy, but I've still gotten my ass out there and drugged my own equipment. I've never made anybody unpack my shit or pack my shit up. I'll just put it that way.
Unless they want to help. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, there's always help. You know, the bass player is the one that's always comes out, and he's the one that's setting up the drummer shit.
Because the drummer's drunk or something?
Or just slow at putting all their shit together.
I'm just joking.
You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
and then you got that dickhead vocalist.
Who?
The dickhead vocalist.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know,
how could I forget him?
Right? Because he can go walk into any bar and be like, oh, you got PA? All right.
Let's go.
Then he's at the bar drinking while we're setting up our gear, you know?
Thus is the life of us as musicians. Well, I think it sounds like a lot of fun, and maybe there's a good time to kind of cut it off for the night.
I think so.
Before we lose too many cameras here to battery life.
Yeah, I think we're losing everything right now, but that's all right. We'll continue to another one.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
Like always.
Yes.
And then we will see you next time.
Yes, we will.
All right.